place to shoot this show. So everything is, you kind of have to make it. And we built 2 ships for the first season, a 3rd for the second.
Bigger than the first.
Yeah, it's a pretty big production, but it's I mean, I think at the beginning with Stars, it was about I think their commitment to make the show was to make the show, to make an uncompromised version of it and a vision of it that felt big and real, I think in order to do that, you kind of can't cut corners. It's a story about people that lived very big lives. Oh, we shot everything is shot in Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's almost entirely shot in on a studio lot. So we are a very visual effects dependent show.
Yeah, so we combine sets on stages, sets outdoors. The town is an actual set with an actual beach. Water washes up in the sand, and then the ships are all on the compound as well, sitting on a hard deck, and we shoot them with green screens.
One's in the tank, in a water tank, and then 2 of them are on solid ground.
Yeah, so it's a massive scale. When you drive down the freeway to the studio, you can see the pirate ships from the freeway. Yeah. It's very bizarre.
I think we wanted to understand. We wanted to understand sort of what the historical record was about these people, but then I think beyond that, we wanted to understand the historical context of these people and the things they dealt with and the problems they had, and to really sort of get under the hood of it. I think our commitment to it is to the truth of it, less than the details of the historical record. So we will play with timelines, and we'll play with what is somewhat settled history about people in order to tell the right story about what their experience was like and what that world must have felt like. I think that's kind of what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that whatever we're doing, it may not have actually happened, but we like to feel like it could have happened. And that's all part of trying to pull piracy out of sort of fantasy back into something that feels real.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is the book. We're slightly bound by the source material, but I think in terms of where we see the show itself going, we have a pretty good sense. I mean, I think it's a process of setting mile markers and then stepping back and then constantly sort of checking where you're going. But I think we have a pretty good sense of where it's going in terms of how it interacts with history. The history specifically of Nassau and what happened there. I think that's always both a guide and a challenge, I think, to try to figure out how to fit that history into this fiction of these 2 very big characters that did not exist in that history in Flint and Silver. How to integrate them.
A guy named Ned Lowe early in the second season, who was a real guy, and from what we know in the historical record, was among the more sort of violent, dangerous, sort of borderline psychopathic. I mean, he had sort of a reputation for torture and enjoying torture, and so our version is along those lines. He's a guy who employs violence in a way that he feels is sort of truthful and unblemished, and but in comparison to everyone else, he comes off slightly demented and scary. It's
I think the hope, as both in this season and going forward, is it's such a big world, and with so many faces of characters people have been hearing stories about for 300 years. I think for us, it's we're constantly looking for ways to pull people out of that toy chest. At any given point, there's 300-400 people on the construction crew that are just building. So for season 1, that was the town and the ships, and for season 2, that was more ships, and just kind of trying to build more pieces of the Caribbean.
And London.
And London, yeah. And sort of seeing what it's a story about people who are outside civilization. You can't fully understand it until you understand what the civilization is. And so, we wanted to be able to see London and understand what they were running away from and what they were outside of. So that was a significant build as well.